It's been so long.
Yet you haven't aged, and I've aged like a crypt keeper. Like
Oh
what
gosh, no,
the
you
hell?
don't.
It's so professional. I mean, what were we doing? We were working retail.
Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't really have a clear sense that I was ever not going to be working retail.
Yes, you did. Then, right? Because you were about to go to law school and all.
Yeah, but like you never know how something like that's going to play out, and it played out terribly.
Uh, Life is full of different, I guess they're not different paths, they're different stops along the way, something like that, right?
Entirely, right? I've still, even at this point in my life, still met people, usually in the course of like a, a job or professional functions, where you get chatting and you just want to like peel like one layer down with them, and they say, well, my parents were both professionals, and then I went to grad school, got my MBA, and I've been with the firm ever since, and you're like,
Mm-hmm. Why? No.
I, I can't relate to anyone that's had such a linear path about this thing we do. Everyone I know that I love is like, well, yeah, I did get a PhD in a very specific area in anthropology. But yeah, I totally worked as a project manager, and I have a Grammy, but I left music because music was a mess. And so yeah, I just
Yeah.
I run this bed and breakfast, and it's like, okay, that's who I'm interested
Mm-hmm.
in.
Yeah. And the next phase, I guess, was going to be up until last weekend. I wanted to at some point move and raise goats. But
Yeah.
we went to a farm last weekend with our little cousins, and it smelled so terribly. And I lost money, and I'm pretty sure the goats ate it. So
I
I
thought that was
rethought that
like
whole thing.
I thought that was like a old wives' tale or something. Like when I was a kid, we didn't have goats or anything, but like I
Mhm.
saw an episode of The Reading Rainbow, and it was about this goat that was eating trash or something, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you like become an adult and like, well, it turns out goats they don't eat trash. They eat
Yeah.
regular food. But they ate money. They'll straight up eat money. One of the filthiest things in the world.
Yeah. And they're weird. Like there was this one, so the babies were cute. I
Oh,
like held a baby goat, and
mhm,
my cousins, so they're 5 and 3, so they're
mhm.
little, right? And so they were trying. We had to hold the food because if they give it to you in cups, and we had
Yeah.
to hold it because the goats would jump on you.
Mhm.
And I'm but so big, so this goat was eye to eye with me, and I don't know why I was talking to it like it was a person because it was at eye
Yeah.
level,
Right.
and I was like, "Get down, get off of me," and it's just looking at me, and then I realized I was like, "Wait a second, this is an animal. It's not going to listen to me, and it doesn't like you haven't trained it, right? So it's not going
Right.
to listen to me. Get down."
Well, I think that's really smart that you went and met some goats before you decided to own a goat farm.
Yes.
I, I lived in Seattle like 6 years ago, and I loved it. But for like a minute,
Mm-hmm.
everybody was getting chickens, like in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, a coworker came in with like half
No.
of them, and she's like, "What happened?" He's like, "Oh, well, my chicken had some terrible disease, and we had I saw online I was supposed to like slaughter them and chop off their heads, and I got the axe and I like missed like got my own thumb
Oh
off.
no,
It's like
that's terrible.
you're not a applaud the effort, but like if you're not a farmer, it takes a minute to like figure out how to be a farmer.
Right, it does. Well, I do still want to raise chickens and
Oh,
see.
yeah.
I do have, but see, goats I'd never been around. Chickens I do have some experience with growing up because my grandparents had
Mhm.
chickens, and it was like my job when I'd go visit them on the summer in the summer to get the eggs. And I
Mhm.
even had like a whole basket and a little bonnet that I'd put on my head. Like I was a special child. Like I don't know why I had a basket and a bonnet, like I was Little House on the Prairie or something. But I would go out and get the eggs and bring
That
them
is
in.
so adorable. So adorable. But yeah, well, I think if you've got a context for chickens and some people
Hmm.
have a context for pigs, you know, I
I
didn't
was
like
afraid
a
of
lot of
pigs.
the nastiness around pigs, but like sometimes an aunt and uncle would like have a pig that they were gonna, oh,
Pigs I was afraid of. They had pigs too.
yeah.
And I was telling this to my friend the other night, and he was like laughing at me. But I don't like, how children have these unusual fears of things that would never in the world happen.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, my grandma would pick me up and put me over the little pig pen to see the pigs.
Mhm.
And the mama pig was like a hog, and it was like, massive. And all
Mhm.
the baby pigs were like nursing. And I don't know why, but I would think my grandma would accidentally drop me in there.
Mhm.
And then the mama would never let me go because she would think I was one of her babies. And so that was a fear that I had to this day. Like, I mean, I know that they're not going to keep me. I don't know why. I thought that a pig would think that I was one of her babies, but
Well, you see that maternal energy. It's like hard not to think they wouldn't just take another baby of any kind. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
don't know.
but
But like you, I love the idea of some of these things, but I mean, I spent a lot of time shoveling manure as a young person, and like
it's not what you want to do, huh?
you just start to like grade like the different types of animals. Like, oh yeah, well, don't mind cleaning up after cows. That's almost benign. But oh, chicken coops at scale, not like a few chickens, but like a lot of
Yeah.
chickens.
Oh
It'll
no.
burn your nose.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Okay, so you were exploring some animal husbandry opportunities.
Yes.
Where are you?
I am actually in Virginia Beach right now.
Uh-huh. How's it treating you?
Yeah. It's I've been here for a while.
I
I
remember.
tried I tried to leave about 10 years. Well, no, it's been more than 10 years ago. And I'm still here. So I guess I'm meant to be here for a little bit longer. We'll see.
Yeah. I've really never spent much time over on that side. I was in West Virginia and
Hmm.
the Kentucky side, and just like, you know, I have these visions of like what it must be like brisk air and wearing a sweater, like almost like more
None of
human.
those things. At least not for me.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have the ocean there, and it's kind of sad though because you don't see it as often. Kind of take advantage of it, and well, especially with COVID, it's been hard in the beginning because like I kind of stayed in, and didn't go anywhere. And then the one time I was like, "This is ridiculous. I want to go to the beach," and I drove out because it's about a 15-minute drive from my house. I drove out, and there were gobs of people just
Hmm.
everywhere, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get sick and die out here." So I turned around and left, which was so sad, but it's nice. Like last weekend was my mom's birthday, and we went out. Um,
Happy
and
birthday, Mom.
yes, yes, she's downstairs watching some movie, whatever. But we went out and we drove along and got to see the water, and it was a little cold on that day to walk outside and everything. But that made me remember, like this is why I live here to
Hmm.
be around all this water.
Yeah, yeah. I chose which Target to go to today. And it's kind of like,
Mhm.
well, when you're in Phoenix, you have your options.
Uh-huh.
And it's not why I moved here, but like that's kind of the level of like which 15 minute. I'm 15 minutes away from a mini Target.
Hmm.
Um, And then when I got to Target, just like you said at the beach, it was like COVID wasn't really a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people, I don't understand it. Like I went because I was in a dance class that we were doing. It's so because you have to do things right for your sanity. So I've gotten back into aerial silks that I do. So I do that every week.
Mm-hmm.
But then I took up bachata classes, and we would go out over the summer because it's nice and you can go outside and eat. So we would go out to eat outside, and we went to this one place, and it was just like a party. Like I was like, is there a global pandemic going on? Like what, why are all these people here? Like why?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
One part of me will be so indignant, and then the other part will be like, I want to have fun. Like I want to have fun. I'm so bored. I'm so
yeah.
bored.
Well, I'm just mad at everyone
Yeah.
because last summer, and I still have my ticket, so I guess whenever it is, but there was the Alanis Morissette concert that I wanted to
Yep.
go to, and it was canceled because of COVID. And every time I hear like one of her songs, I get upset all over again because I'm like, if these people had just stayed home and followed the rules, I would have been able to
Who
go
else
to
was
my
on that?
concert.
Who else was on that? It wasn't just her.
Um.
Was that where Liz Fair was also going? And
Yes, it was.
I had tickets too. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. They haven't
so
refunded them, so it's still on at some point.
that
But yeah,
era of music was so, the women were just so intense. You know, it had all those elements of the Riot Girl stuff. It had that bikini kill thing, but like I was also the youngest possible Gen X or the oldest possible, millennial, right? Like 1980.
hmm
So like I'm like I know that this stuff exists. That this is so interesting.
hmm
That's a huge mark. Like
yeah,
PJ Harvey is still like my favorite musician of all time.
yeah. But hopefully, we'll get to concerts again soon.
I don't even know. I don't even know if I can handle it. I don't know if I can hang. I'm so anxious anyway. And so
No,
at the end of the day,
you're younger than I am, so don't say that.
well, I just mean I no longer know like what I would do with myself. It's kind of like when I started working from home.
hmm
I was working from home a year before COVID.
mm
I kind of like became like oddly nervous in public places. Like if I have to wait in line at the pharmacy, okay, there's two people in line ahead of me. What am I supposed to do? Do I start conversations with random strangers because I haven't talked to anyone in a while? And how loud do you talk? And in Texas, you get close. Like I just didn't know anymore, and I spent so much time online
hmm
that like subject matter that's like really extreme becomes really normalized. So you don't know like is this how people are going to talk to each other anymore?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know what I would do if I was dropped. And I don't know, just what would I do in a public venue
hmm
other than like get my earbuds, my earplugs, and so like
hmm
leave before the last song so that I beat traffic.
Oh my gosh. I think you're right because I think that like the idea of being in a crowd
mm,
freaks
hmm
me out. Like I don't, and I had to which I probably shouldn't talk about because it's recorded, but whatever. So I had to do. I got my first COVID shot,
hmm
and the place I went to, like there was a line to get in the
hmm
building, and
Right.
people were like too close, and that was the closest I've been to so many people in so long, and the whole time I'm like standing there like I'm really uncomfortable.
Yeah, 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 no doubt. Even watching movies now is like really stressful. Like it's set in 2001. You know, it's filmed in 2000. And you're like watching it like,
Yeah.
why are they right on top of each other? That's terrible.
I know. You're like, where are their masks? Where are their masks? Why are they so close to each other?
It's just edit them in. So
Yeah.
all feel more comfortable watching movies. There's a filter for that.
That would be funny. For all pictures and movies, there's a filter where you just like add a mask.
Yeah, right.
But no, things are so weird, I guess. Yeah.
But they're good. Weird but good. Are you doing good?
I am. It's been a stressful week, but I'm doing good. It's been a crazy day. I think I told you that we are having, so my mom's picked all of these. So I live here with her, and yeah, I live here with her. Although when she retired, she moved from Illinois out here because why would you want to be retired? Ooh, there's a gnat. Sorry.
Mhm.
Why would you want to be retired and shoveling snow and being in the cold where you could be at the beach? So
Yeah,
she
no,
came here.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she had these, I'm looking at them. She had this flooring put in, uh, and this project started in January. And it is the end of March almost. And it is not finished yet. Um, and there's been issues with the store that she got the flooring from. There's been issues with the contractor that the store recommended.
Mm-hmm.
And but she's wanted to like take care of it herself. And so finally, like today, I called the store and was talking to the manager for like almost 2 hours. And basically, he was saying all of the things, but I was like, you don't understand that your process is flawed. And here's what is wrong with it. And it needs to be fixed. And I'm like, so we have 2 weeks before my brother is supposed to be visiting with his family,
Oh my God.
and my niece is a year old. She's just walking.
She goes eating any little pieces she finds.
Yeah, and she can't. Well, all of the you can kind of see that the furniture is like not in place. There's books that aren't on the bookshelf. Like all of this stuff is in our living room where, you would be. And she can't, because there's so many things to pick up. It's just so dangerous. And so it needs to be resolved. So I'm calling them and I'm like, okay, so how is this going to be fixed? And all they have to say is that they're sorry. And so I'm like, this isn't cool. And so that's what I dealt with today. That and then dealing with Amazon. So this is funny. I keep getting strange packages. Yesterday, we got a package with somebody else's name on it, but our address.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like golf stuff, and I don't golf. So I called Amazon and I was like, I don't know if this was supposed to go to somebody else. They were like, well, we're sorry. You can throw it away or keep it, or we don't care what you do.
That's
So we kept it because my mom's like, well, if they're saying we can keep it, she has a friend that plays golf. She's like, it'll be his surprise Christmas present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're fine with that. Then today, another package comes, but this time it has my name on it and our address. And I open it, and it's a child's outdoor tent and solar lights. And I'm like, I didn't order this. What is this? So I call Amazon again and I'm like, yeah, I got another package. This time my name's on it, whatever. They tracked it. They were like, oh, it looks like it's a gift to you, but for security reasons, we can't tell you who sent it. And I was like, okay, but for security reasons, I don't have a child. And I didn't order this, so nobody I know would send this to me. So if somebody's got my name and address and is sending random things to me, do I call the police? I don't feel. And so seriously, like I was like,
Oh no, I'm not laughing out of that. Like, yeah, for sure, this is creepy.
it is, but it gets even better. So they told me, they were like, well, we'll send a message to the person telling them that you didn't want that gift. And then they're like, we'll open an investigation. But they said, but just so you know that you may still receive unwanted packages, but you're not being charged for it. So I'm like, what does that mean? Tomorrow something else is gonna come? Like,
So I wasn't aware you could do that. So I could just, with impunity, send stuff to all my neighbors, just like whatever I'm cranking on Ambien that night. Like, here we go.
mm-hmm.
And for
And they're
you,
not gonna tell them who sent it.
bulk
And
deodorant. No reason. I don't even think you stink. This might give you a complex though. Click send. Just whatever I can do
yeah.
for like $5. Yeah.
So it's creepy, but also exciting because I'm like waiting for the new laptop to come in the mail
Yeah.
and be like, yay, this was accidentally given to me, but guess what? I get to keep it and I don't pay for it.
I read an Onion headline like 15 years ago
Mm-hmm.
that said it was something to the effect that like man emulates rom-com strategy, gets arrested for 15 years or gets jail time 15 years because like the stuff that's so heartwarming in so many generations of rom-coms
Mm-hmm.
are totally terrible, terrible things you should never ever do.
Right.
You're now stalking. You're like you're just sending weird gifts to somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
What you doing?
I got an alert that my conversation with Micah starts
Oh.
in a half hour. So I'm trying to wait. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Where did it go? It's
I
doing
see.
weird things. There we are. Okay. I don't
Yeah.
know. Weird things. But it's so funny that you say that because today I went axe throwing with a friend of mine and I was telling him this story too. And he said, wouldn't it be great though if this person that's sending you these things is like your secret admirer and like years from now you guys wind up married and it would be like the perfect story, right? When people are like, where did you meet? I was like, no, because whoever this is a creeper and no, I wouldn't marry that person. It's weird, but you're right, somebody would make a rom-com about it and it would be endearing and sweet and I'm like, no, that's like stalker.
Well, or at the very least, like, I mean, one of the things I really love about romance stories and rom-coms in general is that even when people are like not like you're doing all that slow burn stuff, you're keeping them enemies, you're keeping a friction, they're not really giving in to like how much they like each other. They're in the same narrative, because when something does show up to the house, well, it's that person that did it.
Right.
Because in real life, when you have a relationship where you do not have romantic feelings towards a friend who has them for you, their actions are going through an entirely different narrative that you have no idea even exists.
Right.
And the mismatch of like energy and like what you're expecting could be terribly jarring. And that doesn't really happen. Even in rom-coms when somebody says, well, I just want to be friends, they both know that they had feelings. They both knew the whole time they're in the same picture. Real life
Right.
is so much messier.
Yeah, real life is, yeah, you'd be like, well, thank you, that's sweet, but no.
Yeah.
If that ever happens for me, I actually responded to this lady, which is sad. Well, maybe it isn't sad. It wasn't meant to be sad, but I guess it was a sad reflection of my life. Maybe, I don't know. She contacted me. She's doing some kind of graduate work. And she was like, I came across because I have my The Verge of Spinsterhood Facebook group and all. And she was like, I came upon your group and like a few of your posts. And so I was wondering if I could like interview you because I'm doing work on women that have chosen to not get married and stay single. And I was like, well, it just hasn't happened for me yet. I haven't said I don't want to get married. So I was like, thanks.
That has got to be one of the all-time accidentally offensive ways to broach a topic to somebody about anything. You know, I see you have an amazing warts on your nose. It's kind of like asymmetrical.
Uh-huh.
Writing a paper on people who've accepted their warts. We
Right.
talk about it. It's like, you know,
I should have had fun with it, but I understand that she's doing work, so I didn't. I was
yeah,
nice and
it's
responded
almost
back, but I
sweet
should
and it's
have.
like wild, right?
Yeah, but I should have been like, because she was like, oh, because she said, yeah. So since you've decided you've chosen not to get married and everything, she wanted to see how life was going and all of those things. And I should have like, yeah, had fun with it and been like, life is terrible. thanks, thanks for asking. I'm like. I was on the edge of a building on a cliff and I just happened to see your message right before I jumped. Thanks. Like,
you that you entertain such dark thoughts scares me about you because I know you're a really sweet person, but that's hilarious.
thanks. But I didn't, like, I didn't respond that way. I just said,
Of course not.
thanks.
Yeah.
But let me know if there's anything else I can do. And she quickly wrote back and said, oh, thanks for replying, but I'm good. And I was like, okay.
Oh my god. Oh my god. What are you writing now?
Right now, oh, I don't know if I can move the thing so you can see it and switch back.
Hi.
I am writing that. Do you see that?
Zoom and enhance. No, I'm just joking. So that's your is that your structure? What do you got there?
Yeah, that's my novel.
Uh-huh.
So that's Act 1, 2, and 3. And because I've been writing this novel for 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
This is year 2, to be fair. So it hasn't been like a. It was supposed to be done. Yeah, no, it was supposed to be done last March, and it isn't yet.
Supposed to be a book is supposed to be done in therapy. You know, they tell us you should take away shoulds and supposed tos because that's not healthy.
Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot through this process, actually, because I stressed myself out. So I wanted it done because last spring I was supposed to go to I got invited to a, I guess, is it considered not a writer's convention, but it was something for where I wanted to have a booth and I wanted to sell my books. So I wanted it to be done by then.
Yeah.
And life happened, all kinds of stuff happened. It didn't get done. And then the happy or sad thing, COVID happened. So there was no event to sell books at or anything. But I've still like kind of put myself on this timeline where I'm like, I need it done by this. It has to be done by this. It needs to be done by this. And I was fortunate to, there was like a Zoom call with one of my favorite authors right now. She's a YA author, Nicola Yoon,
Mm-hmm.
and I love her stuff. And it was so cool because I got to ask a question and she answered it, and I was totally fangirling. I was just like, "You don't understand. I could die right now, happy because she like saw my face and answered my question, and now we're BFFs." But
Yeah.
but through all of that, like it just really reflected like how I want. She's like the kind of author I aspire to be. And she takes her time with her stuff. And she's talking about like, all the things that you get wrong in the first revision and then the second. And I'm like, I'm just assuming it's going to be done. Like I'm just at a, and some people can, to be fair, I do have author friends that write like that. They can be done. They push stuff out in like, in a year's time, they've written 5 books.
I mean, I'm not jealous, but like I hate their guts. I mean, like not. I mean, they're great people, but like that is hard to watch sometimes.
Right. It is. But I can't do that.
Yeah.
I will not be comfortable with the quality of, I mean, you could, right? But it would be crap and I wouldn't be satisfied. And I can't do that. And so in that conversation with her, like listening and it made me realize that I can't put a timeline on stuff. I mean, you can when you're working with a publisher and they're like, you have to get this done because it's in your contract. That's different. But I'm not in that. But I want to do it right. And so that's helped me to not put so much pressure on myself and to be like, okay, this, I mean, I still want it done before the year is out, but it has to be done right. I want to be proud of what my name is behind.
We got to unpack a bunch of stuff you said because what you said was very lot of stuff. One,
Uh-huh.
what does it mean when you say it's a type of author that like you admire and like want to be more like? Like, what are the attributes of an author that inspires like that kind of feeling in you?
Right. So the first, what's the first book I read of her? It was Everything, Everything. And then they made that into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, again, well, it was cool because she wrote it with her husband is also a YA writer. And she wrote it with him, but it was like I don't even know how to explain. The writing style was kind of all over the place, but it was genius. Like, and there were even some parts of it were just, they weren't even words. They were like a graphic novel type
Mm-hmm.
sections, and that her husband did because he illustrates some of this stuff or whatever. But so it's cool that it's not traditional. I mean, I don't want to write in that sense, but she's Jamaican and her husband is Asian.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stuff that she writes, like some of her characters, well, actually, in the first book, that it was a story of a girl that's stuck in her house because she's grown up with this I guess whatever deficiency it is where she can't be out in
Mm-hmm.
public and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so this boy moves next door.
Relatable.
Yeah. And they fall in love. But
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So the girl in the book she's black and the boy next door is white. And all of her stories deal with like diverse characters
Mm-hmm.
and there's interracial relationships and all of that kind of stuff. And because that's, to me, that's like what the world looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And she's very like purposeful in that. And I actually used one of her stories that she wrote in a, I forget who interviewed her, but in an article where she went to, so she has a daughter and her daughter's half black, half Asian. And they went to this birthday party and they were having like the people were doing like the balloon animals and all this kind of stuff or whatever. And her daughter wanted, I don't know if it was like a princess balloon or whatever they were making it into. And she couldn't, like the lady that was doing the balloon characters was like, she wanted her to have a balloon of a character that looked like her daughter. And she was like, I can't do that
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have balloons to do that. And it's like, why don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you have had the foresight to think to bring that, you know, with you? And then that just had her think about like how a lot of times people don't see themselves in stories and everything. And so how we can be, so I really like the fact that she's very deliberate in making in the stories that she tells, but then also that there's like research into them. So the one that it was actually the first one that she wrote, but I read it after that the one that I read, and it's called The Sun Is Also a Star. And in that one, it's the character her family's being deported, and I think they're being deported back to Haiti. I believe it was Haiti. And I could be wrong though. I have to read it again. But and then she met this guy that was Asian, and in it goes, there's like layers of it. Like, so they're in New York. They go to his family owns a black hair supply store, beauty supply store, whatever. And in the book, she goes into the whole history behind, like,
Right.
why do you see so many Asian people owning black hair care stores? Like,
Mhm.
why is that a thing? And so it's like, wow, you really did your work. You don't just like throw stuff out there.
Mhm.
And so those are all the attributes that I see in that. And that takes time, right? So that's not something that you're going to throw together in a
Mhm.
month or so and say, I'm done this novel.
Right. And the fast doesn't mean bad, but generally it's hard to go deep when you go fast. You know, you
Right.
just
Yes.
I haven't read these, but I saw the film.
Mm-hmm.
Um, was it Everything, the first one you were telling me about? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I saw the movie, and the movie was still, it was adorable. It was
Mm-hmm.
adorable.
Yeah, it is. And the second movie is good too. But you have to read, but there's, of course, right? Because there's so much more in the book. So,
Yeah, right, of course. You know, I took issue with a bunch of writers online not long ago. Took a lot of heat about it too. Like, people got really mad at me, but you know, writers online struggle to find other writers to talk to, so you can have a lot of infighting, because it's like the only person that will even bother fighting with you is somebody else that can nerd out on this topic. So it's rare.
mm-hmm.
But I said something to the effect of like, well, I don't understand why having a film adaptation is such a high compliment. Oh, or a strong desire. I really hope my book gets made into a movie. I really, here's my dream cast for when it gets made into a movie. Here's my aesthetic board of pictures around my book, and it's stuff for movies. It's like, hold up. Yes, it's all storytelling at the end of the day, but don't you have some pride in your like word choice and prose and structures? It doesn't matter that a film can be an adaptation and like really be its own art form, because I think they really are, and I think they're quite beautiful. But if you
Mm-hmm.
really, really just long to live to see your words translated to film, write for film. Don't play with books. You don't need to. But you know, go over there, because they'll just
Right.
make your books into movie or your screenplays into movies. But I feel like a book has so many other really beautiful things that
Mm-hmm.
can only happen with words and pages and time. And I don't want to lose that. Some of my favorite books, I don't want to see an adaptation, because what I love about them is the language used in all the descriptions. Like, that's like where I live in this book, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so the interesting part to that is the novel that I'm writing right now is my screenplay that I wrote years ago that I'm putting into a book. And it's crazy because, right, so I
I'm
wrote the screenplay
sorry, I
when I
just.
was, huh?
I hope nothing I just said. I think all books should be made into
No,
movies,
no, no,
especially
no,
yours.
because it's an entirely different thing. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I wrote it when I was 25,
Hmm.
and I was like, this, it never, I mean, it, I was fortunate that it actually was performed. There was a thing back then, an organization, this woman that I'm, well, two women that I went to, that I took a screenwriting class with, they started a nonprofit in Chicago that was called Chicago Scriptworks. And what they did is they had screenplays read and kind of like performed. And it was Vera, the woman that started it. She'd gone and saw this done in New York, and so she brought it to Chicago. And
Hmm.
so I've had the, which was, I will say though that that was a feeling that I've never, like, I can't even describe, to see people perform my words. It was just like,
It's a next level high.
it was like there were people, and people were watching these people and responding to these people that I completely created here in my brain. And so it was really amazing and cool to do. But it was never like filmed or anything.
Mm.
So one day I was like, I'm gonna write this. I'm gonna make it into a book. And I started like years and years ago. And I was like, this is hard. This is crazy to do because, right, screenplay, this
Mhm.
screenplay is like 90 minutes. So it's like 90 pages. There's not a
Mhm.
whole lot.
Mm-mm.
And then when you're trying to write that, I'm like, all of this stuff has to be developed. And so that has been the struggle because then I picked it back up because now I'm older, more mature, and I'm like, I can do this, whatever.
Mhm.
And actually,
Crack your knuckles, pull your hair back. You're gonna do it.
mm-hmm, but I haven't even really, like, I've read the screenplay, but this piece is like such a deviation from that because it has to be. There's so much more, but it's been like fun to write and be, because in a movie you couldn't put all of this in, but in here I'm like, well, this is the real backstory. They might not even ever know this, but we've got to like find a way to weave it in. And then like I have on there these bright pink ones are plot twists that all of a sudden I was like, wait, no, this is gonna throw this in it. So it's been like amazingly fun planning it out and everything. And you can't, I mean, to some level you can do that with the movie, but this, because it's not, because in a movie it has to be everything that's seen or heard, right? And this is
Right. You never introduce a table unless he just stumbled into the table because you know it's there because he stumbled into it. You
right.
know because it touched something. Right.
But this is, it's fun because it's like, well, how can I like make this word choice that's
Mm.
going to foreshadow, and people don't even know that this is foreshadowing? How can I change this? How can I use this alliteration right here
You
to
sound
give me
so
this and
excited
stuff?
about this.
I am. I just gotta
You're
get
you're
started.
like bubbly. I love it.
Thanks. But yeah, so it's been fun planning it.
What's it about?
The actual writing has been hard. It is, I haven't been able to like put it into those basic words of what it's about anymore because it's taken such a thing. But basically, it is about this woman who turns 39. It's like her 39th birthday. And she gets engaged to her boyfriend and is kind of like questioning, though, does she want, is this the path that her life, she wants her life to take? Does she want to be married? Does she want, like, what does she really want out of life? And amidst all of this questioning and everything, she meets this guy in her dream that she falls in love with. And so that's the basic without giving all of the other
That's
things away.
juicy. That's juicy. That's good.
And
So,
it was originally, the screenplay was called Man of My Dreams,
mm-hmm.
but the novel is called What Keeps You Up at Night. Or What Keeps You Up, actually. Sorry, the at
Yeah,
night
yeah.
is wrong.
Well,
So
I like that. So, when you were 25, though, were you still thinking about this? Was the character? Did you age up the character while you're like converting it to a book?
because she was like turning 30, right? Because that was old.
High stakes, right? Yeah. Oh my God. What if? Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
And as a 40 something year old, I'm like, this isn't believable. Whatever. I would be like, shut up, little girl.
It's only believable by people that are 26. And
Right.
26-year-olds say some wild stuff. And it's not really like their fault.
Mm-hmm.
They've been fed a lot of weird stuff, especially about women and aging. And so naturally you would think at 26, like this 30 is this like remarkably high stakes. And if you don't have it all figured out, nailed in, and as a choice, no, you
Yeah.
really screw it up. No, no, actually, no, that's fine. That's normal.
It is, and it's. I was telling a coworker about it, and she was like, "Wow, I want to read that when it's done," because she's like, "That's where I am in my life right now," and I
Hmm.
don't know. And I was like, "Really? Wow."
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I think the next wave of let's call it what it is. The next wave of post-colonial romance fiction, where different authors get to pick up imposed upon characters and rewrite them. You're familiar
Mhm.
with post-colonial? I know you are, but like, anyway,
Mhm.
like you think of stuff like the White Sargasso Sea, right? Like you think about the answer to Gone with the Wind. The wind. What is it? The wind
Mhm.
gone.
Yeah.
You can take a character that was somehow marginalized or fringed within the context of empire and then rewrite their story. No, I'm not talking about stuff like Wicked where you take a villain and
Mhm.
to the hero. But anyway, so Hunger Games needs to get redone, but not redone, but answered to. Like, so now Katniss is 48 and she's really grappled with the fact that she's been passing her whole life, but her family is actually black. And, the books were clear about this, but the show wasn't, and she's part of an administration. And the administration is as trampling down young people as the former one was. And there's young upstarts that remind her a lot of herself. But she's like, yeah, but you don't understand. We brought back taxes and volunteers because, infrastructure.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I think the next wave can like push back on a lot of what was young adult stories that got a little bit overtold, and I liked a lot of these books, but they're awaiting what happens after 40 for these characters.
Mhm.
I did a painting, digital mixed media paint portrait of Harry Potter at age 40
Mhm.
because ostensibly he's supposed to be born in the same year I am. So like I gave him a bunch of wrinkled, bald head, and they were just like worn down, sallow cheeks.
For
Warner Brothers just had to take it
Harry.
down. Like, of course, they said you can't create a parody likeness of our character. I'm like, okay, but like we're missing a lot of that. And I think
Mhm.
the next wave of like
Right.
answer back should be like pick up young adult heroes and see where you're now.
That, or you even made me go back to like the rom-coms, right? And I have that discussion all the time with people where at the end of the movie, they fall in love, they kiss, they get married, whatever. Well, no, there's a wedding, but what
Mm-hmm.
happens after that? Nobody ever tells that story.
The one I want to do so bad, I've almost, I've like barely been able to stop myself from writing it because I've had this idea for like 6 years. I've wanted to do this. Um, I want to do a follow up to You Got Mail because
Mm-hmm.
he used to be really rich because he owned all the big box bookstores.
Right.
What happened to Barnes and Noble and Borders? Like
Mm-hmm.
they get shuttered. He's got to be down on his luck. Loses everything in some of the crashes of 2009. He's down and
Right.
he's back to being the breadwinner, but they're still in line. They're still feeding that addiction. They're still like chatting with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how they met. And it's
Yeah.
just like
Oh,
it's
that's
flowing
that's
out that the power
interesting.
dynamic has changed, and she's the breadwinner because she still has a thriving book community of booksellers and buyers of like rare and like handmade books. So like she's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a fun one
That
to
would be interesting. I would read it. But so the trick to it, right? I guess would be that you have to continue on the story, but you still have to keep the heart
well,
of
yeah,
the
of
story and
course.
characters. Because if you deviate from that, then the original audience is going to be mad at you.
Well, just I would go with that classic apocryphal tale, which I don't know if it's true or not, but people repeat it. The two people went online seeking infidelities and started chatting with someone and really, really liked them and liked what they were all about and liked their music. And they were ready to leave their spouse for this person. And so they finally meet up, ready to do the deed. And it's their spouse.
There
They
was
were
this,
both cheating with each
yeah.
other. I think, those are always kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. That is interesting. Wait, there was, I can't remember now. That was a movie. That was a part of a movie.
Yeah, I think people view
And I
snippets.
want to
They should make
say,
that a feature.
Dennis Quaid was in it. I don't. I was a kid, and it was some movie that my mom watched that I like watched with her. But I think now I'm gonna be up tonight googling Dennis Quaid to try and figure out what this movie is.
You're going to expose what sort of Lifetime movies I've been watching.
Those are terrible. Those are. Although the Christmas ones are better. Lifetime Christmas movies. I mean, they're still cheesy, whatever.
Well, they're really self-aware
but,
now. They know that they're doing
yeah,
it. I
but
think
they're
that's
better.
better.
But then you have to. So you can only watch Lifetime during Christmas, and then like the minute Christmas is over, it goes back to the mean evil man that the woman's like must avenge and do whatever. And I'm like, this is so toxic. But I do not watch Lifetime movies.
I do. I mean, generally, it's kind of, I try to treat it like I don't sniff markers, but if I have a legitimate reason to be using this marker today, I'll give it a pass, but I don't seek out the marker for it. So if I have a legitimate reason, like I'm sick and I'm sick right now, I've got this bizarre thing called valley fever. It's a fungus that floats in the air in the Southwest. Some people, when they inhale it, get a really weird infection, and apparently I did. So, but when I'm sick, I like a little tussin and really, really sappy stuff. So I'll go straight to Lifetime. Like, okay, this is gonna be my lay on the couch, sniffles, and get lost.
See, I go to everything, and I'm not in my room anymore. I'm in the guest room because my room is covered in books and I can't get in thanks to the foreign people. But before all of that, I will at night watch, what is it? It's called Me TV or Antenna TV, and they're all 80s shows. That's what I binge on because it makes me. I'm like, if I can only imagine that I'm a kid again, and it helps me sleep at night, right? Because I'm like, all of the concerns that I have to face tomorrow for this moment, I'm like 10, and
I've been there.
But it's interesting that some of the stuff though that you watch, that you're like, well, this was really some of our shows were really, really bad. And some of them really hold up. And some of them dealt with really I've watched Murphy Brown, which was funny for me as a kid just because, but as an adult, I understand it. And I'm like, wow, this is it's such a good show.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But other ones, that one is good. And it's funny because my brother and I talk about him, and he's like, some he refuses to watch because he doesn't want to ruin his childhood memories of stuff that's good. And then you watch it and you're like, this is terrible. What did I watch? I watched, well, that one it wasn't a good show. It was Step by Step that I watched, but it was good in that it put me to sleep within 3 minutes. Yes, see, yes, I know the theme song too. But if you watch it now, it made no sense, and toward the end, it made no sense. We're like, what? But wait, and the little boy just completely disappeared. He went to the same world that Judy from Family Matters went to. He was there one day and he wasn't. She went up to her room to write, and I remember she went to write a book report on Robinson Crusoe and never came back.
the mysteries of that era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was some really, like Mr. Belvedere, like what the hell is this even about? How is this? Who pitched this? And how is this show gonna go on? Like so bizarre.
It was.
Or
And the
Punky
fact that
Brewster.
Mr.
Like
Belvedere was gay. Like, if you really like saw the character, like I don't even because I mean I guess it was that time, but I'm like, it just would have made more sense if you just like wrote him as that. Like it's the same for what's his name? Jonathan in Who's the Boss?
right,
And it
right.
was funny because I told my mom, like, we had this conversation not that long ago. Like, I found out, and this was a while ago though, that he like came out, and I was like, that's like, even his character. There was something different about like watching it that I was like, I could, and I didn't even know what being gay was at that age, but you can like pick that up. So when he came out,
Mm-hmm.
it was like not a, I was like, but that's like not news. That's,
Right.
I mean, it is, I guess, but which I guess unpacking all of that is so sad to me that people feel trapped and
Yeah.
whatever, that having to like come out and say whatever, like, okay, like, and it's so I've had friends that have come out and then you're just like, okay, and so it's sad though that person feels
Mm-hmm.
trapped in
Still,
that.
still. Right.
And then but when you say something like it didn't change anything. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So
Mm-hmm.
why couldn't they
Yeah.
why do they feel trapped and tortured from telling people things that hopefully, well,
Yeah.
some people don't, but hopefully
Well,
something that
more
some people
people,
know and it doesn't
more
change
good
anything.
souls like you. I mean, I think, I don't know. There is a lot to unpack in that because my mind kind of even took it like in this whole other kind of spin where I think a lot of these shows employed, the gay stereotype character called, the sissy and variations of the sissy. But you think like, well, why was a child cast in this? And it's like, I feel really bad about child actors generally. I think
Yeah.
fame in Hollywood, even if it weren't so prone to like, really bad acts, I think just fame is really bad for like the soul. But I think that boys, young gay boys who have any kind of like presenting indicia of like an orientation, like predators are so like their antenna are just like, whoa, you,
Yeah.
they're so targeted. So, to write a character around one stereotype is one thing, but to cast it with somebody who has like a certain kind of like relationship with that identity is really a complicated stance. I mean that's it's probably exactly what happened, but it's like I'm all for like the current moment is like really seeking so much more representation in their portrayals. Like we're kind of done having non-natives portray natives in cinema. We're moving that way towards certain disabilities. We're certainly moving that way towards certain cultures. We see exceptions, but then Gyllenhaal was playing Prince of Persia, and that was not long ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're moving towards it. But like when you're a kid, how you handle a child role, like I don't. I think that's really like a tougher.
Yeah.
And I don't think this was made like a voluntarily like, hey, just to increase representation, we're casting a boy who's gay in this gay role. I think they just probably doing something weird, but
Yeah. I think it's just, I don't know. Right. And I think that it's good that things are, uh, it's such a weird, like, I guess that's just the best way to describe the time that we're in right now. It's such a weird time. So I can keep saying, but why is it that movies, well, even books now are getting more to that place, that are more representative of the the country, the world that we live in than what we see in real life.
Mm.
And I'm like, because it's because you look at just like in the past couple of years, the things that you've seen like on television and the books that have been produced and the messages that are clear and that come across in that, and then you look at the news
Mm.
and it's entirely different from,
Mm.
or even commercials. Like I look at commercials now where it's just it's amazing to me that everybody buys things, that you have people with disabilities, that you have people of all colors and sexualities that purchase things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Right.
all of a sudden it just happened. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and well, I I was gonna say that in the world's okay with that, but some people aren't, because you've had the people that were like really mad about the stupid Cheerios commercial, and I was like, really? That's like what you choose to be upset over and stuff like that. But but I guess just like all of those things show us that those are our neighbors. This is what it looks like. And
Mhm.
just that there's so much polarization and fighting though that you see like in social media or in the news
Mhm.
is completely different
Oh yeah.
from that other picture.
I'm trying to think of the last thing I went back and rewatched to see like did it age well, or was thinking about it, and it was I want to keep calling it the wedding planner, but that's not. J Lo was in a
Oh,
rom com.
yeah, that was the
Is it
wedding.
the wedding planner? And McConaughey,
Mhm.
Matthew McConaughey is the male lead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did not age well. Bad. Like you just watch like why would anyone? You didn't write that, did you?
So when it came out, I liked it
I
because
remember liking it a
no,
lot. That's
not
why I
to,
rewatched it.
huh?
I liked it a lot. That's why I was rewatching it, and I was like, I can't believe I used to love this.
Yeah. Well, I liked, and I definitely, I was like, oh, that's pretty. That's how I want my wedding or something. Like, so I watched it for stuff like that.
Mm.
But I always had a problem, and even now, still watching it, like, why is J Lo Italian? And I can't get over like, and it was why did they make her Italian? Why couldn't she be who she was? And it's funny because there was a movie and it was a Hallmark movie, and Hallmark has just in the past 2 years gotten a little better, and they're hopefully still, because they're not completely there.
Mm.
But they had a movie, um, actually it was two movies and they had Meghan Markle in the
Mm.
movies. And in both movies they had her in, her ethnicity wasn't what it is at all.
Mm.
And it was weird to me. Like I was like, why can't she just be who she is? Like why? And you see that in more movies now, right? That it people just are who they are. It's not even like a statement. You don't talk
Mhm.
about it. It's just what it
Mhm.
is, and you
Mhm.
move from that to the story.
Mhm.
But not in these. And they made it like in the one, and it just came out 2 years ago. It came out before. I'm sure like they filmed it, but now she was like marrying the prince. So they were like, oh, let's air this so we can like make money off of it.
Mhm.
And so everybody watched it.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is terrible. And and then it had in it like she was completely white and her whole family was white, and she looked like she didn't belong. and they didn't even address it. Like, it would be fine. Okay, maybe she was adopted or something, or
Sure.
she had a different parent. The
Hmm.
one of them was like her stepmother or father, but they didn't
Right.
address that at all. They
Right.
just, and I was like, but it's weird.
It's a strange thing to get latched onto as a producer or a writer or whoever was kind of behind those decisions to be like, no, this is critical to the story. It's like, then how?
Hmm.
How is this a plot point? Write a
And
different movie.
right, but and why did these people do this? Like, why? Like, for and I think maybe like what you said, because right, we liked it when we were younger, and
Mhm,
now we're older, and
mhm,
JLo was like not who she is now.
mhm,
So we're gonna cast you in this movie, and we're gonna make you this Italian woman. Okay, sounds
mhm,
great. I
mhm.
think if they did that now, she'd be like, seriously, do you know who I am? You know?
Exactly. I don't know though what's really more egregious though. Like the whitewashing of an actor's ethnic background, or that she's a wedding planner who is convincing she's falling in love with her client's husband, like, and she herself had her prior fiance
Right.
leave her for her best friend who was planning her wedding. So now she's like reproducing her own trauma in an entirely unreflected way. I'm going to do the exact same thing that happened to me to someone.
Right. And
That's
there's
pretty
no, and it's
bad.
wonderful. It's great. Well, it's even like we were talking about Pretty Woman, and Pretty Woman is still a great movie, but
Wonderful movie.
it's a
Right.
prostitute. She's a prostitute,
The
and
power
everybody's
dynamic can
like,
never really be balanced, no matter how savvy she is. He's still the customer, and that never leaves the film.
right. And so, as an adult, like I still will watch it, and it's great and love it. But I'm like, but can we acknowledge that this happened? So he's still like, right, like he picked her up and paid her
Hmm.
for
I was
sex and
not
with
allowed to
her
see
and
that
all.
movie.
Huh?
My grandma was like, "No way, no way, you are never going to see that." No.
It's bad, but then it's bad because it's great, but it's bad because then people are like, this is a great,
Mhm.
this is great. I want to be just like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman. Really? Do you really?
Yeah.
And but it's scary because it's like that whole thing, which I could do a whole nother conversation with you, because it is oddly something that I'm passionate about. One of my friends and I, the whole Twilight
Mm.
series, and
Mhm.
how irresponsible it is for
We're
young
gonna we're
women.
gonna save. Let's schedule immediately. Toxic relationships in media representation, because that's a good one. And I'm really just going to interview you on that one, if you don't mind, as somebody who has accepted their role in toxic relationships.
Sure,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, because that one, like I have one of my friends here, and we read, because we're also those people that we are the readers, and we've seen all of the movies,
Mhm,
and because we'll commit to something. And
mhm,
I really liked the first book,
mhm,
and I really kind of liked, I can't remember, I think I really liked the second one.
mhm.
And I was like, this is great. And she's like, no, it's not. I'm like, this is great. And then as I get into, the story unfolds more and stuff, I'm like, this is crazy. This is really bad for young girls. And she's like, see, I told you. But we
Yeah,
committed.
yeah.
So we read all of it, and we went to the movies and made all the other people mad because, well, she's hilarious. Like we make smart comments all throughout the whole thing. And this one girl that's like crazy about Twilight came to the movie with us, and we warned her. We were like, okay. She's like, I love Twilight. I was like, we don't. So we're going to make comments. Maybe you shouldn't come with us. But she did. And of course, she was offended by things that we said.
Yeah,
But
I'm killing somebody's joy, but yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. Just like you, I mean, I've read. I just read. I just read, you know, and so like
mhm,
I watched them. You know, I can still critique a thing and still like parts of it. But that's
mhm.
stuff too. The ability to enjoy problematic stuff while being like really aware of how problematic it is. But like, yeah, but I still like it.
Yeah, but you have to be responsible
Yeah, for sure,
in
100%.
that. You have to be like, we're adults, right? I can read that stuff
Hmm.
and point that out, and
Hmm.
your younger audience can't. Or even you still have to be, I guess. And I was talking to my friend about that too, and he was, who was he? What were we talking about? It was something that because he's an engineer, and it's something that he was creating. Oh, so it's a weird thing that he was saying how somebody explained to him that he has to explain things more in detail. And he was like, it doesn't make entire sense to him. Like, if I was saying this bottle is my little, I'll use this, my little prop, my little water bottle
Hmm.
is 1/8 full. Or no, it's like, I guess it's, so it's 7/8 empty.
Hmm.
Then that's gonna, you would infer, right, that there's 1/8 of water in it.
Hmm.
But I told him that's what you would think. But
Hmm.
not everybody thinks that. And
Hmm.
so you have to, and even as I was like, as stupid as it may sound to you, if you're doing something, especially like creating a product, you have to be cognizant of the fact that not everybody's going to get that. And so you're responsible for explaining
Hmm.
that, yes, there's still something in the bottle,
Hmm.
because somebody is going to say, oh, it's 7/8 empty. It's an empty bottle. No, there's still something in it. Well, because why wouldn't you know that then there's an eighth? Because not everybody thinks.
Hmm. No, so you're feeding people stuff, you know, and depending on what it is, I think some forms of media consumption and art and entertainment, you shouldn't have to work so hard. That's the point. I worked hard during the day so that I can enjoy this now.
Mm-hmm.
I do not agree with anyone who's like, true art should challenge you. I'm like, yeah, except for when I'm tired and I need to de-stress and I need true art to save my life and lower my cortisol level so I don't have a stroke or a heart attack. Like, true art could also be beautiful and lovely and easy. Like, don't knock
Right,
it.
right. You have to be, so you have to be responsible. I'm so sorry, because it made me think back to the woman that used the Gorilla Glue on her hair.
Mm,
And
mm-mm.
it's like, people are like, but it, nowhere on the bottle does it say not to use it on your hair. But, and it's like, but you have to think of that, because guess what? That woman just did it. And it goes back to, so my dad was working for McDonald's back when that whole lawsuit happened with the woman that
Mhm,
burned herself, and she
mhm,
won. She
mhm,
won the lawsuit because they didn't have the warning on the coffee cup that it was hot, and that you have to like be careful how you hold it. It's hot. The coffee is hot. You asked for hot coffee. Why do you think? And that's what happened, is she was in the car and she held the hot coffee cup between her legs,
mm.
and it spilled and burned her, and she sued them and she won.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but that was, yeah, so you have to put that stuff in there. And so I guess that's the long story to write, that some of these stories are terrible,
Mhm,
um but they're entertaining.
mhm,
But you have to, as a writer, you still have to think of what the reaction is, and
And who
you
are you
have to be
for?
responsible
What's
for
gonna
what
happen? Yeah,
happens.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's too. I don't think that's putting you on airs either. I think that's like a really important place to like kind of consider like when you're writing, and even if you're writing speculative fiction or transgressive fiction or horror or something that you really want to confront people, still think about it, man. You
Mhm.
know, think about who's going to be consuming this, who's going to emulate this, like what is this, you know, kind of bringing in. Not that you alone can socialize some sort of terrible stuff, but don't we have enough monsters, you know, people who've been brainwashed by ideologies going out and hurting each other? Like, don't we have enough?
Mhm.
Put a little, still be confrontational, go ahead. Be like punk,
Mhm.
you know, yeah, you'll flip me off, but like you're not gonna murder me. Like
Right. And if
I
you
don't know
murder
any
me,
history of punk music. I don't think like any of the scary punks with mohawks beyond Sid and Nancy have ever like, you know, and they only, you know, killed themselves. Like I don't think they've punks have ever like hurt anybody.
right? Yeah. But even if
Shock me,
you
but
kill, but
don't kill me.
yeah, even if you kill, you have to show that there's a consequence to
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah, for sure.
But
Hey, I gotta stop the recorded part of this because I'm tired. It's past my bedtime too. I'm gonna
yeah,
turn the
yes.
pumpkin.
What time is it there?
8:24. But I fall like I go to sleep early. I wake up at 2 a.m.
Oh,
8:24
that's crazy.
feels like, you know, 2 a.m. for everybody else.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, it's past my bedtime too. It's been a long day.
Let's say goodbye to the people on the internet, and then I'm going to talk to you for just 5 minutes.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone on the internet.
Bye. Love you. See you soon.
Yes.